Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm going to go over what's been transpiring with Biden and the NATO speech and his questions. So what we're going to do is do a cursory review of the media, and then I will comment. Before I do that, please make sure that you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. All the links are in the description. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. The links are in the description. Please make sure that you subscribe to all those channels. If you could, please help support my work by donating on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video and all my videos. Click that link. You can donate. You can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or Buy Me a Coffee on the bottom of the homepage of my website. You can also be a paid member to my Patreon channel. I have 4 different tiers. Tier 1 helps to support my work. Tier 2 is a little bit more monthly membership, where you get access to some of my lectures on pulmonology and immunology. And tier 3 and 4 gets additional access to some of those lectures. So that's another way to help support my work. And of course, make sure you get the products that I offer. I've been telling you about how to boost up your immune system, how to slow down the aging process. I am also coming out with a plethora of new products. So stay tuned, focusing on anti-aging, longevity, and boosting up your immune system. All right, and you're going to be surprised on some of the things that I have to say in the near future. These products will be launched next month. So with that said, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and start getting those supplements and start going on this journey of slowing down the aging process, healing your body, moving the needle forward and boosting up your immune system and having this longevity journey. So with that said, we're going to start with Fox dealing with the speech from yesterday. Okay, I'm recording this on July 12th. His NATO speech and the questions that he took after were that took place yesterday on July 11th.
President Biden's allies believe the president, quote, stopped the landing and delivered at his NATO press conference, despite moments like this.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president, but I think she's not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Ladies and gentlemen, President Putin. President Putin. You got beat President Putin. President Zelensky. I'm so focused on beating Putin, we got to worry about it. Anyway, Mr. President, I'm better. You are a hell of a lot better.
No joke. Joe Conscious, a Fox News contributor, and Joe joins us now. It's shocking to no one that the media wasted absolutely no time beginning the resuscitation effort of one Joe Biden. After 2 whole weeks of asking questions, let's take a watch at that resuscitation effort. Watch.
Haven't they had them doing a lot more of these? That really is about as comfortable as he's going to get.
So familiar at the beginning where he said Vice President Trump instead of Vice President Harris, but he did have lengthy answers on subject areas that he knows very well.
I think it's fair to say there were obviously some verbal missteps. There were some periods of haltingness, but also periods of genuinely impressive command and fluency.
He's not only strong on foreign policy, he is just fundamentally right on foreign policy.
So give some credit where credit is due. It was a solid performance, except for one flood.
Wow, Joe, your reaction. And once it is basically official that Biden's not going anywhere, is that the end of the tough questions of Joe Biden?
Tough questions.
Yeah.
Last night.
Quote unquote.
These reporters, again, were handpicked for a reason. He had a list of reporters to call on. I didn't hear questions around, for instance, I'll read them for you, actually, because these are questions that I would have asked, okay? how can you, Mr. President, not have a cabinet meeting since October, 9 months, when the world is seemingly on fire? I would think that that would be a pretty good question. There wasn't one question about Biden's refusal to release his medical records. Not one question about a Parkinson's doctor visiting the White House on several occasions. Do you have a neurological condition or disease, sir? Would have been a pretty good question to ask. Not one question about, by the way, the cost of living in this country being up 20%. Not one on inflation. Is that incredible? Number one issue in the election. You finally get this guy to a press conference and no one asked that question. Not one question about gas prices up 50%. Not one question about 10 million immigrants coming into this country illegally, including hundreds on the FBI terror watch list. Not one question about Hunter Biden now apparently being the unofficial chief of staff to the president of the United States. So you add it all up, and yes, I guess he stuck the landing like a Boeing plane. When you consider what we saw last night with all those gaps, I'm sorry, if this is the bar, which is basically a speed bump, then great. He passed it. Now here's the bad news for Democrats at this point, guys, okay? He did well enough in the MSNBC world where he now can say, see, I got this. And now Democrats can't say, you got to leave, because they'll say, look, I did fine during that press conference. What else you got?
Yeah, Trump absolutely won last night.
Trump won last night. Thank
Listen,
you.
on that point, one Democrat lawmaker said that this press conference was the worst possible outcome for his party unless you were Hunter Biden and need a pardon. And the suggestion there is that he did well enough to prolong his candidacy moving forward. There was one question that was notable. The answer was even more so. The reporter here is asking about Kamala Harris.
If your team came back and showed you data that she would fare better against former President Donald Trump, would you reconsider your decision to stay in the race?
No, unless they came back and said, there's no way you can win. Me. No one's saying that. No poll says that.
No one's saying that. No poll says that. Well, somebody in his campaign might want to show him this NBC News report that says several of President Joe Biden's closest allies, including 3 people who are directly involved in efforts to reelect him, told NBC News they now see his chances of winning as 0. And the likelihood of him taking down fellow Democrat candidates is growing. He needs to drop out, one Biden campaign official said. He will never recover from this. This is coming from inside his own campaign, Joe.
If he stays in the race, it's over. Okay, I always want to do that. Like, why does Biden do the whisper thing? I'm not quite sure. He is down in North Carolina, Georgia, Nevada, Arizona, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan. He is tied in states like...
I think that he does that effect with lowering his voice. It's almost a condescending part of his personality. Joe Biden, lunch bucket Joe, he thinks that he's above everybody else. All right. And I watched clips of the NATO speech when he was introducing Zelensky. He flubbed up on that. But the way you could interpret it is that there are many politicians that flub up when they're introducing people, especially if they're constantly talking about some other person and it just slips out. Now, people need to understand that there are 3 main areas of the brain that I'm going to talk about. One is the Broka area, which is, we're talking left side, left hemisphere of the brain. So your left side, and it's near the front here, okay? Left side, frontal. And many people have strokes in this area, and they have inability to create speech, all right? So they could understand you. They know what they want to say. So they can understand, and they know what they want to say, but it just can't come out. So that's the Broka area. So many people that have strokes can't speak, and that's a sign, potentially, with further diagnostics that it affected the Broka area of the left side. Then there's the Riki area, which is farther back on the left side, farther back, and it's dealing with processing speech, the inability to understand someone, or the inability to create new speech for it to be put in coherent speech, to be funneled into the Broca area. So you're processing information and you want to say something, and it will communicate to the Broca area. And if someone's normal, you're thinking about what you want to say, it will communicate to the Broca area, and the Broca area will produce the speech. If you have a stroke or some sort of neurological problem in the Broca area, you'll be able to understand, you'll be able to process speech, but you can't speak it. For example, someone might do something like and it just doesn't want to come out, or silence. But if you have a problem with the Wernicke area, they may be able to speak fluently, but it's a word salad. It's one of the signs is a word salad. So they may get some sort of damage to the Wernicke area, maybe a stroke, maybe a concussion, whatever, age related, and they won't be able to produce coherent speech. So an example would be something like, I went on Tuesday, but the bike was riding on the discotheque with the Statue of Liberty eating a donut. All right. So it's just, what's happening in the Wernicke areas is that it's trying to form sentences, and it's funneling those sentences, that thought process, to the Broca area, and they'll speak. So they have fluent speech, but incoherent. So those are the two main areas. Okay, there's a lot of other things that are going on with age-related diseases that are non-stroke related. All right, the easy ones to understand are the stroke ones. The stroke, there is a hemorrhage, or there is an occlusion that causes neurological damage in the Broca area. It can't speak. If same thing happens to the Wernicke area, then you can't process speech, but you can speak it. Okay, you can't create coherent speech. All right, but with age-related diseases, like Alzheimer's or dementia, or late-stage MS, or Parkinson's, all right, Huntington's disease. What will happen is that certain areas of the brain are going to start to atrophy. Certain areas of the brain are going to cause, certain areas of the brain will be in a disease state. So with the Wernicke area, it's also communicating with, because it's the temporal lobe, it's also communicating with the hippocampus. And a lot of people that are that have dementia, ischemic dementia, or Alzheimer's, the age process starts to accelerate. Neural death starts to accumulate in the hippocampus, which starts to disrupt the ability to produce speech, the ability to create thought for it to be spoken. So there is this communication line. So we have communication lines going from right hemisphere and left hemisphere. Okay. Corpus callosum is where the corpus callosum is this communication bridge between the right and the left hemisphere. But there's also an arcuate, fasciculus, arcuate vesiculus will communicate back to front. Okay, and this back to front is tied with the Wernicke and the Broka. So this arcuate vesiculus will produce thought and sentence structure in the Wernicke area, then go through this back to front process through the arcuate vesiculus and go to the Broca area and then produce speech. So if you have a lesion, some sort of disease, some sort of problem in your Broca area, you can't speak. If you have a lesion in your Wernicke area, you can't make coherent speech, but you can still speak. And if you have a lesion in the arcuate vesiculus, the communication line between the Wernicke to the Broca, what's going to happen is that it's going to seem as though you can't speak, but assuming that the lesion is only in the arcuate vesiculus, then you can produce speech, you can make sentence structure, you can understand something, but you can't get it out. And it's as if Broca is the Broca area is, there's a lesion in the Broca area. So sometimes these lesions aren't 100% and they're like weak connections. So it can be broken up, where it can be, sometimes it will, they may have these moments where they can speak really well and they understand really well, and then all of a sudden they can't, right? And it's kind of like short circuiting. So just keep in mind that there are these three areas that lesions can happen, or lesions can be in advanced stages of disease. The whole left hemisphere could be diseased. All right, so as the hippocampus starts to die out, new memories can't form. That disease starts to spread and affects the Broca, affects the Wernicke. Normally it's the Wernicke first, and then it's affecting the arcuate. So just keep in mind that there is this, on the left hemisphere, there's these three main areas that need to be kind of thought of dealing with speech. Now, he has at times, he's able to say something well. Then there's moments where he can't, it looks like he wants to say something but can't. That looks like an arcuate issue. But it could be Broca, kind of short-circuiting, who knows? But then all of a sudden there's moments in time where I think he's understanding. So I think his Wernicke area is okay. But perhaps the arcuate or the Broca area is problematic. Now, without looking at functional MRIs and CT scans and vascular imaging, you can't really know for sure, you know, but these doctors, his neurologist knows pretty sure what's going on. All right. Now, most likely, this is if his aneurysm was on the left side, which I believe it was. Back in the 70s, I think he had the aneurysm. If his aneurysm and surgery, I think he had two of them, maybe it's just one, was on the left side, this may be part of the manifestations of that aneurysm kind of creeping up in his older age. Now, his movement, his gait is an issue. Age-related gait. He's looking like he does have, you know, that early onset of maybe Parkinson's. It's possible. It could be, depending on if it's more prevalent on the right side versus the left side. It's hard to tell in the videos. If it's more prevalent on the right side of his leg, most likely there's something something going on with the left side of the brain. So, but the point here is that our brain with different lesions will manifest different things. It's not just the thinking, but also movement. All right. So certain muscles are governed by certain areas of the brain. So when you take a slice of the brain, cut it in half like this, and you open it up, the part of the brain that is more to the outside world, all right, is going to be more facial. And then as you're moving up towards the fissure of the brain, what will happen is that you're going to have more control of your muscle control of your extremities. And then as you move down the fissure, it's going to be the legs, then the feet. Now, he said that he had a problem with his foot and he couldn't feel it, but he says that it was because he broke it at a time and he didn't wear a boot or whatever. This may be a sign of some sort of vascular issue, but we don't know without seeing imaging. If you had imaging, you could tell right away what's going on. But there seems to be something wacky with the left side of his brain. I believe that's where he had his aneurysm. So let's keep that in mind. Now, is he as sharp as he used to be? No. Was he a stellar performer when it came to intellectual thought? No, even when his brain was working. But he has declined. He is getting older. So is this, we use terms now in the modern world, age-related, disease, or this is an age-related situation. It's a disease. All right. Some people get it earlier, some people get it later. Normally, what happens is people, as they get older, start having more mental issues, more mobility issues. Now, science, medicine, is moving the understanding and the prevention of some of these diseases from popping up. All right, it's not a magic bullet, but the thing is that our understanding of the disease and the ability to try to slow it down of these age-related diseases, we're getting advancements in this. And I'm going to do another video about. I'm going to start a new show, and it's going to be called Gen Zero, and you'll understand why when I talk about this. But the point is that medicine is moving forward. There is an age-related set of disease patterns in Biden. Some of it's, Alzheimer's related. Some seems to be like Parkinson's related. But you also have to keep in mind he had an aneurysm in the 70s, and it may have been 2 surgeries he had, if I remember right, but at least 1. And this may have something to do with that surgery. Who knows? Now, the 70s, neurosurgery it's relatively in its infancy. So they don't have as much advanced techniques as they do today. But it may be related to that. He's always had some sort of stuttering issue or some sort of getting the words out, right? But if you watch him throughout that whole moment when he was taking questions, I would say 70% of the time, if you're going to be honest, 70% of the time he was with it. 30% of the time, it was a little bit, where is he going with this? I don't fully understand what he's saying. Maybe he says the wrong word or the wrong phrase or whatever, or does these little quiet moments, right? Which I think is a sign of his condescending attitude towards people. But the point here is that there are different areas of the brain that could be manifesting themselves. Is this an arcuate issue? Is this a Broka issue? Is this a Riki issue? He's getting older. He's slowing down. Now, for my father, who has ischemic dementia, his manifestation started about it's about 6 years ago. It was just starting where his writing was starting to get truncated. He used to write big paragraphs, and they were shorter paragraphs. With the vocabulary was getting worse, or not as vibrant as he used to write. And then over time, he was starting to stutter. And what's happening is that his hippocampus was getting less blood flow, leading to memory loss, but also slowly having other brain tissue start to atrophy because of the lack of blood flow. Now, this seems to be bilobal, by hemisphere, meaning left and right for my father, right? So, and blood flow is a really important thing. Does he have a blood flow issue? He had an aneurysm, right? So, there's dynamic issues, flow dynamic issues with him pre-surgery and post-surgery that may be having some sort of manifestation. But the point here is that we can learn a little bit about age-related disease by watching Biden and get a better sense of blood flow, a better sense of important areas for speech, the arcuate, the Riki, the Broka, and we need to understand how important to try to keep that hippocampus healthy. All right. So, what is it? Is it Alzheimer's? Is he having a buildup of, plaque on his neurons? Is it a manifestation of the surgery he had in the 70s? Who knows? Who knows? Is it a combination of both? Could be a manifestation of the surgery and age-related. But I'd like to use the term age. I'm hoping that over time we're going to get rid of that term age-related, and it's going to be just such and such disease, because I think that you can slow down the aging process. I think that you can mitigate new diseases, and when you're mitigating them, then they're not age-related; they're a disease-related. If you understand the mechanism of the disease and you can inhibit that mechanism, or promote other mechanisms that will stop that disease progression, then it's no longer really an age-related disease, it's just a disease. But I don't like the term age-related disease, because it's too easy to just kind of write it off. Okay, this person's going to die, right? It's just age-related disease, and this is just going to be the progression of that disease pattern, and not really think about, well, how do you stop it? So I think it's more important on how to stop it. But there's this other thing that is happening. It's just like, okay, he's the president. Is he with it? Can he perform on the job? That's a different situation. And then there is the ethical situation. Not only can he do the job, but should there be a little bit more understanding because of his age? Because in the United States, we're going to have a lot of elderly, and we need to have ethics with our care with these patients. In addition, there is kind of the politics now. Politics is about power and fame, right? And people are jockeying on this. And there's other questions about, why do the mainstream media hide his cognitive decline for so long? another question is why even Fox News, but why are the mainstream media pushing so hard for him to leave? And I have some thoughts on that. But before I do that, let's continue on. But, it's important that there may be some sort of disease pattern that's taking place. It may have nothing to do with the Riki, and it's literally a buildup of amyloid plaque, right? And tau protein, and he's getting Alzheimer's. Who knows?
Mexico, New Hampshire, New Jersey, pick your new state, right? Maine, Minnesota, Virginia. He's not nimble enough to defend all those states and win back those swing states. So right now, Donald Trump is looking like your 47th president. We still have 114 days to go. But you tell me what changes on the ground in terms of inflation, in terms of all these things that made him unpopular before the debate in the first place, guys.
Before we let you go, kind of get your thoughts on this quickly. And Washington Post op-ed says the following: as a result, viewers of Fox News understood the president's condition better than our audiences, which ought to be a huge wake-up call for us. Quickly, 10 seconds. Will that wake-up call be heeded?
Of course it will not, right? We have eyesight, we have hearing, and we have sanity. And that's why we cover the president's cognitive decline. It's not a very complicated story to cover. Yet now everybody's catching up, acting like, oh, we were so surprised. No surprise. You purposely ignored it. Stop it with the sleepwalking nonsense.
Yeah, the lab leak theory was a conspiracy until it was right. Hunter Biden's laptop was a conspiracy until it was right. And Joe Biden's cognitive issues were also a conspiracy until they are right. Joe, thank you so much.
And if you watch these networks like MSNBC, CNN, they're trying to spin it that Trump has cognitive decline. They are getting older. Trump is not as robust as he used to be, but he's far more robust than anything that Biden is from a physical standpoint and from a mental standpoint. My concern with Trump is a heart attack, because I believe that his physique, his BMI is too high. Without knowing, but I would not be surprised that without medication, his lipid profile is pretty poor. And that are all signs of stroke or heart attack. So I'm not worried about his mental acuity, Trump's mental acuity. I'm not worried about it. I'm just worried about a heart attack because he's just too damn fat. And he's just, I personally, looking at him, I bet his cholesterol count is pretty high. All right. With that said, let's take a look at what CNN has to say.
While more Democrats publicly call on
But
President
before
Biden,
we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support PNN, because this network that you're listening to right now is so far more important. PNN is so far more important than CNN. So help support my work by going to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the toothpaste. It's the best toothpaste that you're going to be able to buy. It has no fluoride in it. It's a structural nanosilver toothpaste. It'll whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, neutralize pathogens, reduce gingivitis, reduce plaque, and with good oral hygiene, you're going to improve your cardiovascular health and your valvular health. Why? Because bacteria and plaque can get in your bloodstream, and that can cause problems with the valves of your heart and create inflammation in your vascular system, causing cardiovascular disease. So what's really important is to take a toothpaste that is high functioning, right? This is a high functioning toothpaste. Wipes your teeth, freshens your breath, reduces the inflammation at the gum line. And it's important because by reducing inflammation in the gum line and neutralizing pathogens with the structural nanosilver in this, what's going to happen is that your gum line is actually going to heal and start to grow. Now, if you look at someone younger, right, that has good oral hygiene, but someone that's younger, they have a healthy gum line. When you're older, your gums normally recede. To slow down the recession of the gum line, to reverse the aging of the gum line, take the structural nanosilver toothpaste. All right. See, this is another just real easy example that if you follow a certain protocol, you're actually going to slow down the aging process. And in this case, the data point, the observational set is your gum line. So please go to my store and get a couple, 2, 3, 4 tubes of this for your house. It's a very high quality toothpaste. It has no fluoride in it because fluoride makes you stupid. So get the fluoride out of your diet and out of your water, filter your water. Take this toothpaste. It has no fluoride in it. It has a structural nanosilver that neutralizes pathogens and helps with the gum line, reduce the cardiovascular disease, the valvular disease. Good oral hygiene is really important. And when you start to regrow your gum line, you're going to start actually having less inflammation, less problems that a lot of people when they're older start to have. So please go to my store and get the toothpaste. Start this when you're younger because it's going to be a lot harder when you're older. But take my advice. This is the best toothpaste that you can get. Or don't take my advice and make huge mistakes with your life. Go to my store and get the structural nanosilver soaps, very high quality soaps. This one is in charcoal tea tree. This one is peppermint. And this one here I have is oatmeal spice. So please go to my store and get a couple bars of this for your household. Very high quality soap. The structural nanosilver neutralizes pathogens. Way better than Dove. And lastly, please go to my store and get the silver gel. All right. This is a dual purpose product. I believe in providing products to my audience to have dual purpose. And that way it lowers the cost, right? Because you can use it for different things. You put this on your hands, it neutralizes pathogens. This is way better than anything else on the market. All right, so put it on your hands, put it around your mouth, around your nose, around your ears, around your eyes, lightly coat your nostrils, and it'll neutralize pathogens for 5 hours. In addition, it's a skincare product. You put it on your skin at night, right? And you exfoliate in the morning, and what you'll notice is your skin is tighter. In addition, it helps to neutralize pathogens. That means it's helping acne. It means that your skin is clearer. So use it as a skincare product. If you have a cut or an abrasion or a minor burn, put it on the minor burn, cut, or abrasion, and it will heal quicker. And in addition, for guys or for anyone that's shaving, so for guys, you're shaving your face, put a little bit on your hand and after you shave and put it on your face, and it will actually soothe your skin after you're shaving. For females that are shaving their legs, after you shave your legs, put this on your legs and it will help to soothe and heal the skin after you shave. So this is a very, very high quality product that does many different things. Neutralizes pathogens, but also helps with skincare and also helps with aftershave, right? For legs or face or whatever. All right. This is a very, very high quality product. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
To bow out, what is happening in private right now? The most telling and possibly the most consequential. CNN reporting this morning, Barack Obama and Nancy Pelosi have had behind the scenes discussions about Joe Biden's fitness and how to move forward. Their talks focusing on how much harder it's become for the president to beat Donald Trump. The takeaway that we are reporting is that neither one of them is quite sure what to do. I guess mirrors the country or the Democratic Party anyway. Earlier this week, the former speaker raised quite a few eyebrows when she appeared to, quite frankly, kick the exit door back open for Biden to walk through it.
It's up to the president to decide if he is going to run. We're all encouraging him to make that decision because time is running short. I want him to do whatever he decides to do. And that's
Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, all of them, even Barack Obama, they're all worried that they're going to lose the Senate. More seats will be gained in the House, and the Republicans are going to win the White House. And that means that if one of the justices, Maura, potentially leaves the bench during the Trump administration, there's going to be another conservative judge. So they're all seeing that this pendulum is moving towards the conservative, or at least the Republican Party. All right. To slow down socialism, to slow down this erosion of what I call God, country, and family, the Republican Party needs to get in office and strengthen God, country, and family in this country. Support the Constitution. I see the Democratic Party as a party that wants to weaken the Constitution, weaken civil liberties that have been enshrined in the Constitution, weaken family, traditional family, weaken God, how the country has this through history has this affinity towards a higher power. So the Democratic Party is trying to weaken that, right? And they're trying to weaken the country. So, my perspective on this is that we need to kick out the Democratic Party and move more towards the conservative way of governance. So it's not really about Biden anymore. It's about losing the different branches of government to the Republican Party. That's what they're worried about. And the governors are now even worried that potentially their state legislatures may turn Republican, or some of the governors may lose their race. And so states, at least at the governor level, may go Republican. So this is not about Biden. This is them using Biden as an excuse, his age-related diseases, as an excuse for a much larger problem. Because if it was just Biden, why would they lose the Senate? It's not about Biden. It's about policy. And people are fed up with it. Now, if you step away and you let's say are agnostic and you're not Republican or Democrat, and you're just agnostic, right? And you just look at this objectively, there is arcs of movement where the pendulum will swing either conservative or to a liberal mindset, a Republican or a Democrat mindset. And I think we're seeing that shift and momentum moving towards a more conservative ideal. Now, eventually, over time, that pendulum will shift back to a Democrat ideal. Now, people need to start realizing that it's the will of the people that should be putting the president or their representatives in government, not just the president. What I'm tired of, and maybe some of these videos will show it, is how you have these elitists like George Clooney telling you that we don't, the elitists are saying, the big donors are saying, we don't like what's going on with Biden, we want him out. Well, what if the rest of the people that are voting for Democrats wants Biden? All right. So there's always this kind of like super delegate issue, and the elitism that's taking place. If you really pay attention, zoom out, forget about the noise. The noise, it's not the news, it's the noise. The noise is that there's age-related disease with Biden. That's the noise. It's true, but there's cognitive decline with Biden, but that's the noise. The true thing that you need to start paying attention to is the elitists, the elite, and the power of the donations on how they determine who is on a ticket for office, especially the presidency. That's the bigger issue. And how the media, whoever bought them, probably big money, big corporations, and through advertising dollars, controls the mainstream media and hiding the cognitive decline where it was self-evident before the 2020 election. But the media was complicit because they hated Trump so much. So the big issue here isn't the cognitive decline. The big issue is big donors controlling the system. Now, with that said, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin B complex. This has many different B vitamins. The first 5 B vitamins you need to help with mitochondrial health, but you also need your B9s and your B12. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the B complex, the vitamin B complex, to help with your metabolism, help with energy levels. So go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin B complex.
It's the way it is.
So of course, these remarks were so earth-shattering because the president, at this point, when she made those comments, already announced he was staying in the race. Isaac, this is your reporting with our colleague Jeff Zeleny. Kind of take us behind the scenes. I mean, President Obama has been so careful about how he's talked about this in public. The thinking being that President Biden is so prickly about his former boss that if Obama were to weigh in and say Biden should leave, it would actually have the opposite effect. What have you learned?
Look, part of the dynamic here is
Alex Jones said that Alex Jones had someone on his show, and he was basically saying part of the reason why Obama is walking on eggshells is because Biden is threatening to, show proof that Obama is homosexual. All right. Is that true? I don't know. It was on Alex Jones. But the thing is I would not be surprised behind closed doors that Biden, because of his personality, threatened Obama to back off. Because the Bidens are in a corner. Yes, there's cognitive decline. Should he be running the White House? Should he be running as president? No. Biden should not be running. But the thing is that he's backed in a corner because of what's going on with Hunter Biden and this laptop and the pay to play type stuff. So the Bidens don't have a choice. They can't really bow out, right? Because this could accelerate investigations and perhaps prosecution of his family members and maybe even of him. And I would not be surprised that Jill Biden is part of this whole corruption and was one of the masterminds. I wouldn't be surprised at that. There's no proof of it, but I'm starting to have a feel that maybe she was one of the masterminds.
The Obama-Biden relationship is much more complicated than people often understand it to be. They are friendly, they are not friends. One person who knows both of them said to me a couple years ago, neither one of these people really has friends, and they're really not friends with each other. They have not been in contact as much over the last couple of years of Biden's presidency as people might think. They've talked a couple times, and Barack Obama has forever been skeptical about Joe Biden's chances as a presidential candidate. Part of the reason they picked him as vice president is they thought he would never run for president. Easy enough. In 2015, there was a moment in the summer there after Joe Biden died when Biden was thinking about getting into the race. And the way that Joe Biden remembers what happened, and he's written about this in his book, is that he says Barack Obama was not encouraging. Obama's sense of what happened in that conversation is different, notably, that he was just saying, focus on your grief. He was trying to say to Biden, this is going to be a really hard race. Are you sure you're up for it? Now, fast forward to right now. I talked to a number of people about this who said, not only would it be complicated for all the other reasons for Obama to step in, but that if he said to Joe Biden, someone said to me, you should step aside, that Biden's reaction would basically be, well, Mr. President, you used that chip in 2015, and that's what got us Donald Trump. So basically saying, your judgment on this, that you may think is the thing to do, is not the right thing to do. I think also it taps into a lot of frustration that a lot of Democrats have had of Barack Obama since he left office, that he has really stepped away. Obama has a theory of why he's doing this, that it gets lets the next generation come up, that it doesn't trigger Donald Trump as much, all of that. But Obama is not prone to getting involved here. And if people have looked, every time they've looked at him over the last couple of years, they say, let's Barack Obama.
George Clooney and Obama rub elbows together. Maybe they rub other things together too. I don't know. The thing is that Hollywood is connected to the Obamas, and the Obamas are connected to Hollywood. You know, they have the Netflix deal and they have book deals. You know, Obama has been photographed with George Clooney. George Clooney is raising lots of money. So the money apparatus for the Democratic Party, for big donors that are tied to Hollywood, one of those conduits, it's not the only, but one of those conduits is through the Obamas. And so if you have George Clooney going really hard against Biden now, and trying to force the issue that he steps aside, for sure, the Obamas were involved.
His response has basically been, I'm going to stay right here for right now and not say anything.
Yeah. How is that helpful? I mean, and what do you make of these conversations also, Ashley? You've made your views of where you think the party should be very clear. No, very clear this morning. Well, these two seem to disagree with you.
Well, I guess I just want people who are weighing in on this right now it is insufficient as a leader to say, take step A, but not then how we get to Z. So people say, step down Joe Biden, but they don't tell us then, like, I'm going to throw all my support behind Kamala Harris, or we should run an open primary. That to me is irresponsible. I also remember, look, I remember the day Beau Biden passed away. I was working at the White House at the time. I remember the day Donald Trump, I was in the Rose Garden the day Donald Trump won, and President Obama told his whole team to support the process. I was someone, and I was probably like a lone wolf, but I was someone in 2015 that wanted Joe Biden to run for president, and I appreciated the grief, but I thought he could beat Donald Trump. And then we saw what happened with Hillary Clinton losing. So I understand, and I remember having conversations the day after Donald Trump lost in the West Wing, and people who we weren't like super senior folks that were like next to the president that day, but people saying, wow, I wish Joe Biden had run. So it is complicated. I think President Obama also realizes the weight he carries in the Democratic Party.
And through complication and complexity, things emerge, all right? They are unexpected. And now what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in the politics here may seem disparate, but perhaps they're connected. Now, there's a rabbi that I listened to. I forgot his name actually. I'd have to look it up, his name. But he has this podcast thing and he talks about this stuff. He has an interesting observation. And he's saying that the Democratic Party is being metaphysically manipulated in a way where there's a lot of chaos that will lead to Trump getting reelected, and that it will de-escalate what's going on in Ukraine, and it will finally finish what needs to be done in the Middle East for long-lasting peace. And part of the problem with Trump is that he makes mistakes. He surrounds himself with certain types of people, and his personal attributes are sometimes not as desirable as a leader. But he can move the country forward into a better direction, especially with this pendulum moving towards conservatism. So if it's true that there is some sort of metaphysical manipulation that's going on in this election to show the world and how dysfunctional, how corrupt, how chaotic the Democratic Party is, will lead for people to say, I can't go down this road with the Democrats, I have to vote for the Republicans. And most likely that will lead us down a road that is, in the long run, more peaceful. But there's a lot of corruption. And of course, the Republican Party has corruption too, but there is some deep corruption with the Clintons, the Obamas, this Ukraine, all these conduit companies. Now, we only know about the Bidens, but there's something funny going on even with the Obamas, with their accelerated wealth, right? So, and there is this elitism. You notice it in New York, where if you're a Republican or if you voted for Trump, you're considered an outcast, right? Because you gotta be a Democrat in New York. Even if you're a banker that wants low taxes, you still need to be a Democrat. You can't vote for Orange Man because Orange Man's bad. Well, why is Orange Man bad? He paid $130,000 to a porn star. Does that make him bad? Their arguments don't hold water. But Trump's personal emotional makeup, there are flaws. But as a president, he's actually pretty good. So, and the United States, there's a lot of corruption, and they don't really, what's going on in the United States, most people don't care about the middle class. They only care about how business is going to benefit and how power will be disseminated. All right. And the middle class is being destroyed. And you got elitists from Hollywood telling you on how to vote. You know what? The elitists in Hollywood don't represent the middle class by far. So maybe the rabbi is right, that this is a metaphysical manifestation to show how corrupt the Democratic Party is, and that they're going to be they're going to be thrown into such a disarray that it increases the probability of Trump winning.
He doesn't take that lightly. So he is being thoughtful because whether or not Joe Biden and him are best friends, he respects him as a colleague. He respects the role that Joe Biden played for him as vice president, as being the first Black person ever elected to the highest office of the land. And so I think he is taking that with a great weight, which is why he wants, if he's going to say something, he's not going to say, here's step A and figure the rest out. He's going to lay a pathway.
Isaac, what is the difference between, we spent a bunch of time talking about Obama and that relationship, which I find fascinating, but Nancy Pelosi has been like taking, she has been lockstep with President Biden in all of the accomplishments that he has laid out, right? All the things he's the most proud of. And it does seem like she actually seems to be taking a leading role here. Because I will say, having covered her for many years, if she knows how to do anything, sure, she runs house races every 2 years. A lot of them are competitive, but the woman knows how to win, right? And it's like the thing that is the most important to her. And I think she understands better than anyone what the consequences would be if Donald Trump were to win the White House. We expect Republicans to win the Senate. The hope that they had was to hold on to the House of Representatives. Is that a message that you think she could deliver to Biden?
That is a message that a lot of her colleagues hope that she will deliver directly, and that they took from her appearance on the other network 2 days ago as saying that what
Also, remember, Hillary Clinton was running against Obama during the primary and lost. All right. This is when he was, running for president for the first time. Right. And Hillary Clinton lost. Now, remember, when you are a VP on a ticket, you got to go through all this extra background that would have revealed the corruption of the Clinton Foundation. Think about that. Why did she not push for a VP-ship? Because they didn't want to show the corruption. Right? So, and she was in hopes that maybe that she would be able to run if he imploded and run against him, or run in 8 years later, which that's what she did. It just so happened that she lost to Trump. But the thing is that this thing that we're living through right now with the Bidens is actually, it was first seeded with Hillary Clinton losing the primary when she was running against Obama in 2008 for the 2008 election. Just keep that in mind. This arc from 2008 to now to 2024. This was seeded at that moment when she lost the primary.
Wanted to hear and saying it directly to Joe Biden, basically, that caused a lot of heartache in the White House and in the Biden orbit. That Pelosi did that. Look, she has been in Joe Biden's corner for a long time, including throughout this presidency. They've known each other for decades. She is older than he is. There is a power that she has to come in personally and politically, like you say, to make this case. Look, I don't know that we know who's going to be in control of the Senate when this is all done, but it doesn't look great for Democrats, and they know that. It didn't look great before that. There are so many Democrats who are so petrified in their House races now, people who were not worried a couple of weeks ago. And of course, the presidential race. So she could have that real power. She has been talking about it with Obama. They are concerned. They were concerned before. They are more concerned now. And it is a dynamic that they are trying to work out of how to relay this message to Biden.
Why are they concerned? Are they concerned that they may lose another seat on the Supreme Court? Are they concerned of actually having an attorney general looking into the corruption at the FBI, the CIA, and other politicians, and how there was this communication between the agencies and these politicians, these powerful politicians, going after their political enemies. Oh, maybe that's the reason. There's a lot of corruption going on with these agencies. And the Democratic Party, they didn't help with, they weren't about ending slavery. It was the Republican Party that was about ending slavery. The Democratic Party has been against minorities. They're about elitism, and they're very corrupt. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't problems with the Republican Party. There are, all right? But I'm telling you, the Democratic Party is more corrupt. And they are embedded with the agencies that are going against the American citizen and their political enemies. They're against their political opposition. So that's why they're scared. It's about corruption, revealing the corruption. Now, I hope, this is the issue that I have with Trump, I hope that when he does get in office, that he is forceful to prosecute this corruption and to end it, and to restructure the FBI and the CIA. But I have a feeling he won't, just like he fell short in his first term.
Way that gets him to a decision, and at least in Pelosi's mind, it seems very clear that what she wants the decision to be.
Well, and Doug High, I mean, Pelosi also has the benefit of having shown how to pass the torch.
Yes.
In a pretty, I mean, look, it was masterful what she did. She avoided the kind of infighting that can really do damage to political standing. And she looked around and said, okay, my time has passed. And she handed it to younger people.
So as one of the architects of the Fire Pelosi campaign in 2010, I had nothing but respect. Nothing but respect for her abilities on that. And this is where we see the public versus private be a push versus pull. And what we're seeing on the inside game is Pelosi and Obama, they're trying to pull Joe Biden out of this race. The push is George Clooney. And what George Clooney did was, it's very easy for a Republican to dismiss Hollywood actor. But I remember watching TV after it came out, and Harvey Levin of TMZ was on local Fox News here, which means he was on a lot of local Fox News. And I'll talk about the Harvey Levin voters. There are people who don't like either one of these candidates.
Why should we care about George Clooney? Why should we be dictated by Hollywood? That's a big question. You know? Amazing. I have to do a commercial for PNN. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lignans. This will help to boost up your immune system. This is extremely important. This is part of a longevity protocol. This is part of an anti-aging protocol. But it's also part of the protocol to weather the post-2020 crisis. You need to boost up your immune system. Why? Because with a good immune system, you can fight cancer. With a good immune system, you fight pathogens. With a good immune system, you slow down the aging process. When you have a poor immune system, either overreactive or underreactive, you start having problems. So you need to have proper immune system. You need supplementation to get you into proper immune system. As we get older, our immune systems don't function as good. So it's very important to take lignans every day. It's a powder. You mix it with food or mix it with water. Doesn't matter. But take it every day. Boost up your immune system. It will also help to control your hormonal levels for men and for males and females. All right. So it's really important to take this for your overall health and your immune system. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lignans. I'm telling you, you're hearing all over the news about higher prevalences of cancers. You need, take my advice, you need to get healthier. You need to boost up your immune system. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com and get lignins to boost up your immune system. All right?
Double haters. And what they're seeing from this is when George Clooney spoke out, this is the push. And it's not just happening, on sets in Washington, D.C. This is playing out on phones and on apps. This is younger voters. They skew younger, they skew more female. They're seeing this everywhere they go, not just People Magazine, which you have here on the table, but on their phones. And that's why the Clooney thing is a push that is significant.
Yeah, I mean, George
And it
Clooney,
involves money as well.
right, and he is sort of, I was reading, forgive me for blanking on which outlet exactly had sort of laid this out, but his category of celebrity is much different than the vast majority of actors.
Democrats take him seriously as an actor.
Biden takes him seriously. They have a long-standing relationship. This goes back a long, long time for Biden, and so it was personally an affront to him and a hurt to him to have Clooney speak out against him. I think one of the things that's in the reporting also is that part of what seems to have gone wrong here is that fundraiser in Los Angeles, and then maybe the jet lag that grew off of it. The only reason why they flew Biden from Italy across all the way to Los Angeles overnight to that was because George Clooney, who they wanted to do the event, said that was the only day available in his shooting schedule. So there is a frustration then that comes out that then Clooney is the one who took the shot at Biden. And like there are a lot of layers to what's going on here.
Is the president allowed to look George Clooney in the eyes? Like, how does that work?
Final thought. I will just say, I think the underlying thing that is frustrating a lot of people is that Jim's might be missing a point, is that the reason why people maybe speaking out against Joe Biden or Joe Biden is saying his race is because we understand the existential threat that Donald Trump is. And in all of this, it feels like a circling, fiery, whatever the analogy is.
It is an existential threat to the Democratic Party. It is an existential threat to the Democratic Party because the corruption needs to be shown daylight. People need to be prosecuted. The agencies need to be restructured. Firings need to be happening. DrPaulCottrell, if you were president, what would you do to the CIA? Oh, that's easy. You tell the head of the CIA that his job is no longer active, to go home and read some books. And there's going to be a 25% reduction in staff and a restructuring. And you tell the remaining heads, do your budget. It's going to go 25% lower, and there's going to be a major restructuring. And oh, by the way, because when the president comes into office in January. Oh, by the way, this is going to be done by April. So you move it fast and you restructure the FBI and the CIA. 25% reduction. Better yet, do something that JFK wanted to do. Smash the CIA into 1,000 pieces and spread it into the wind. The existential threat to the American public are the agencies, like the CIA and the FBI. They're out of control.
when we should be aiming at our opponent, Donald Trump.
See? And like I said, with the metaphysics that's going on, what's happening is that there's so much turmoil within the Democratic Party that they're losing ground.
Former President Obama and former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi are not along for the ride. They are reportedly trying to find ways to steer Biden out of the race. And the New York Times is reporting that Biden's advisors are also discussing how to convince him to step aside as they quietly test Kamala Harris's chances against Donald Trump. NBC is reporting Biden's allies and campaign officials, quote, see his chances as winning as zero. Lee Carter, your reaction.
Well, I think when the bar is so low, it's easy to exceed it. I think that's what happened. I think everybody was expecting it to be a really disastrous performance last night, and he was solidly average. He had a couple of gaps.
Let's I want to take this video here with Fox.
First time in 8 months he's had a press conference, and maybe he was a little rusty.
He had his normal gas, but keep in mind, he kept saying, I got 14 million primary votes. I have all the money. Even if there's other people that can beat, they can beat Donald Trump, but not at this point. You really can't turn around and do anything. I think it's a worse scenario for Democrats because he was Joe Biden.
Yeah, he was.
He had normal gas. He's had gas for the last 20, 30 years. And this time he was able to answer most of the questions. And they're going to be sending out, obviously, the Vladimir Putin thing is a big thing, saying Donald Trump was his running mate is relatively different, more than I was expecting. But the rest of the stuff he answered. So he has every reason to think that he can stay.
It was just bizarre. I mean, there were times where he whispered, there were times he yelled, look there, he's clearing his throat, he cleared his throat a bunch. He said he would start and then he'd lose his train of thought and say, well, anyway, and then start another thought. It was just very bizarre. And right out of the gate, just like the debate, he made the gaffe and said Donald Trump was his vice president and he wouldn't have picked her if she weren't qualified.
Well, he knew exactly who to call on as.
If you roll the tape back of his whole career, moments like that happen regularly. So I don't think that's really a big deal. His performance when he was taking questions from the press corps after the NATO speech was far better than what he did during the presidential debate with CNN. He performed way better last night. So, everyone was thinking they was going to bomb, but, nitpicking here and there, I don't think is that big of a deal, especially when he has a long career of saying this issue, these types of things, when he was vice president and when he was senator. So, is he declining? Yes, he is declining. There's no doubt about that. But he did perform relatively well last night. Now, does that mean that he's on amphetamines? Maybe. I don't know. Is he drugged up? Maybe.
Alluded to. Watch this. He misgendered.
I'll take your questions. I've been given a list of people to call on here.
There's been reporting that you've acknowledged that you need to go to bed earlier and your evening around 8.
That's not true. Look, what I said was, instead of my every day starting at 7 and going to bed at midnight, it'd be smarter for me to pace myself a little more. I love my staff, but they add things all the time. At the very end, I'm catching hell from my wife for that. Anyway, I'm not having any of my European allies come up to me and say, Joe, don't run. What I hear them say is, you gotta win. And I'm surrounded by good docs. If they think there's a problem, I promise you.
Remember what I said? Why should we care about what George Clooney has to say? Why should we care about what the European Union and its leaders are saying about who should be president of the United States? It should be the will of the people. Now that brings up a bigger question. Why does mainstream media demonize people at the Electoral College that vote for Trump? Why are they demonizing them? Because isn't it the will of the people? Oh, if it's the will of the people and it's what you want, oh, that's democracy. If it's the will of the people and it's what you don't want, in terms of who wins an election, oh, it must have been, there's these people are evil. The will of the people matter, not what George Clooney thinks, not what an establishment thinks, and not what the European leaders think. It's what the American people that are going to be voting in November, and it's going to be tallied up, and the Electoral College is going to be set in motion, and whoever wins, wins. See, what happens is that the European leaders don't want Trump because Trump actually forced them to pay their way in NATO. So they don't want Trump because they want to get freebies by the Democratic Party. With that said, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the digestive enzyme complex. This will help to break up carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins. By breaking it up and helping to digest, it puts less load on your pancreas, and it allows you to absorb nutrients easier. That way you have more energy. In addition, because of some of the compounds, some of the enzymes that are in here, they break up glycoproteins and they are fibrinolytic. So they break up clots by breaking up fibrin. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the digestive enzyme complex. In addition, if you work out, take this before your workout, and that way you're going to be able to recover, you know, when you do, after your workout. You know, normally people that work out, they usually eat first. They use like an energy meal, like a pre-energy meal. You know, take it with your pre-energy meal. So, but this should be part of your protocol, even if you aren't heavy into exercise. So take the digestive enzyme complex. If you are working out and you need that extra energy, or if you're older and you need to put less stress on your pancreas, as we get older, our pancreas doesn't function as well. So this will help to be able to digest it. In addition, because of the 2020 crisis, you want to break up glycoproteins and clots. And the compounds that are in this are proteolytic and fibrinolytic. So please go to the store and get the digestive enzyme complex. It's part of the protocol.
Really, they don't think it's a problem. They think I should have a neurological exam again. I'll do it. I believe I'm the best qualified to govern. And I think I'm the best qualified to win. But there are other people who could beat Trump too. But it's awful start from scratch.
Earlier you misspoke in your opening answer.
Let's break down what he said. And I'm tired, even in the Republican Party, saying this. The most qualified. There is only basically 3 qualifications. All right, you have to be an American citizen, born American citizen, right? You have to reach a certain age. And you have to be the president, you have to win the Electoral College. That's the qualification to be president. Win the Electoral College, be a natural born citizen of the United States, and reach an age requirement. That's the qualification. It's not 50 years in the Senate. It's not lots of corporate experience. The resume of the individual is judged by the people voting. That is the qualification. So when someone says, I'm the most qualified, it means nothing. Constitutionally, your qualification is just as important as any other person running, assuming that the person that's running is an American-born citizen. So, you know, it's age, American-born citizen, most qualified. I'm the most qualified. No, what makes your qualification is what the American people think at the voting box. If they feel that 50 years in the Senate is too much and may make you compromise, then maybe they don't vote for you. The most qualified. Such a charged statement. It's very clear what the qualifications are in the Constitution. Lunch Bucket Joe.
Vice President Harris as Vice President Trump. Right now, Donald Trump is using that to mock your age and your memory. How do you combat that criticism tonight?
Listen to him.
I mean, it's incredible. He essentially
Tired of typing tons of notes during class? There's finally a better way. It's called Otter. Let's say I'm in class. I just hit record.
It's incredible. He essentially, the reporter asked a question about
him changing his schedule because he needs more downtime. And he says, well, that's not true. And then right after he confirms the report and says, oh, well, it's actually a different time frame. It's actually 8 o'clock because they need more time.
Does anyone think he's working from 7 to
There's no way. And then he confirms the part of Jill Biden being upset with the staff, and he says, I'm catching hell from my
He
wife.
has to blame someone for why he's exhausted and why he's making this gaps. It's easy just to say, it's my staff. They're adding too much to my staff.
Well, he's not just catching hell from his wife, he's catching hell from Democrats. And, you know, Brian, you're absolutely right. It wasn't a great performance, but it was solid. And so this purgatory, this limbo continues for Democrats.
Explain why it's the purgatory.
Well,
He did
because
so bad on the
Or
first.
they wanted
before
him
you
to
get to
blow.
heaven, you go to this holding area.
Well,
I believe that. Some
For
people
sure.
believe that.
well,
Everyone wanted to see him blow up on stage, right? He didn't blow up on stage. He performed like Joe normally does, all right? Yeah, there were some minor things, but it's not that big a deal. It's Joe. That was Joe. Right now, is he drugged up with amphetamines? I don't know. But there is definitely an age-related decline. But he performed. Everyone wanted him to bomb like he did on the debate, for the presidential debate with CNN. He didn't bomb. Right? He held his ground. And so now it causes additional chaos within the Democratic Party. See what I mean? Is that there's this chaos and this metaphysics is coming in where I've said this before. You're going to see the ultra liberal eating its own tail, and you're seeing it. They're devouring their own, right in the middle of our eyes, right in front of our eyes. So, Democratic Party, they wanted him to blow up so that it would be easier to kick him out, but.
if you die with a sin on your soul, then you go. This is not the time to
What
go.
y'all said, this is the reason. In the first hour, y'all said he did so bad in the first debate that they're in purgatory because last night wasn't horrible.
Right.
So they're in a pickle. Right.
There were a number of Democrats who wanted him to suck, and he did not suck as much as they were hoping because then they could all come out. CBS has got a story that Mark alluded to that apparently dozens of Democrats, it's going to be a coordinated thing. They're going to come out in the next 48 hours and they're going to say, Joe has got to go. Axios actually has got
he just ruined the surprise.
Yeah, there you go. Axios has got a great piece this morning and it talks about, you've got Nancy Pelosi talking on the phone last night to Barack Obama. What do we do? There are a number of Democrats, top Democrats, working behind the scenes to try to get Joe to go. And Axios refers to them as the committee to unelect the president. And the whole idea is to get him out, the sooner the better. The CBS thing said that those Democrats think that he could be gone by the middle of next week, which is the RNC. And apparently, according back to Axios, there are some major donors who've got some gigantic non-binding money ready. And the nominee would not necessarily be Kamala Harris, but instead it would be two people most likely to win one of three states, Wisconsin, Michigan, or Pennsylvania. And Axios says they're going to be ruthless. They're going to figure out what ticket could win one of those states, and that will be the ticket.
This is amazing because he's made it very clear that he's not getting that. He's very defiant. And that
not his choice.
The Democrats.
Yes, it is.
Exactly, Brian.
Well, he said he could release them.
The thing is,
they could vote
the thing is, the Democrats and the media, and I don't think a Republican has ever had an advantage like this. They've become the opposition research team now. All of these comments that they're making about him being unfit and needing to pass the torch are going to be aired in ads. Donald Trump is going to grab all of this stuff. So they better make peace now because it's going to happen now.
All right.
He's going to be the nominee.
So the president
we
did a
still have that dollar.
We do.
The president did a pre-ticket view.
If you're having problems sleeping because of the chaos that's going on in the world and in the United States election cycle, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Good Night formula. You need 3 cycles of REM sleep a night. Why? Because REM cycle will allow you to consolidate memory. When you have good sleep, you're detoxifying your body. And when you wake up, you're going to be well rested. It's very important to do that. It's part of an anti-aging protocol. If you get good sleep, you get good REM sleep, you're gonna have way better energy and slowing down of the aging process. People that get less sleep, they're accelerating the aging process. It's important to get sleep. Many people that are older have problems sleeping. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Get the good night formula. If you are having problems sleeping, you want regular sleep every night, get those 3 cycles of REM sleep. This has tryptophan and melatonin in it. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the good night formula.
Yes, so this was with the Earl Ingram show, and it aired on July 3rd. Well, then Civic Media launched an investigation because they heard, which was 5 days later, they launched this investigation. They heard that some of the taped interview was not included in the full interview, which aired on July 3rd. So they investigated this, and the radio station, it turns out, did remove 2 parts of the interview with President Biden.
At the request,
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big story.
At the request of the White House. And here's what the Earl Ingram show said. On Monday, July 8th, it was reported to Civic Media Management that immediately after the phone interview was recorded, the Biden campaign called and asked for 2 edits in the recording before it aired. Civic Media Management immediately undertook an investigation that determined that the production team at the time viewed the edits as non-substantive and broadcast and published the interview with 2 short segments removed. In the interest of transparency and consistent with Civic Media's mission, we are sharing the edited segments now and making the full unedited interview available. And the portions have to do with how many blacks served for him and what the Central Park 5 and Donald Trump have to do with each other, because he destroyed that story.
Well, if it didn't matter, then why don't you guys take it out?
Because the White House is intimidating.
It must not be true.
The statement is nonsense. If it did not matter, if it did not contribute to the conversation, if it wasn't going to make the president look bad, why did you cut it out? Here's a portion of it.
In addition to that, I have more blacks in my administration than any other president, all of the presidents combined, and major positions, cabinet positions.
Well, because it was a lie.
Well, so the White House said, could you take that out? And they said, yes. Remember, it was just last week that one of those radio reporters, there were 2 radio reporters, he was one of them. They both got a list of approved by the White House questions you could ask the president, and they both agreed to it. This guy, his station standing behind him. But the other station fired that woman. And I'm surprised somebody last night didn't say, hey, Mr. President, did you apologize to the woman who lost her show on that radio station because she simply followed your request, your White House Communications Department request, to only ask you questions off this list?
She thought some of the questions were good. She said she used, I think, 4 of them. Is that
She
right?
got to pick.
Here's what the Biden campaign said in their statement following up. Hosts have always been free to ask the questions and air the segments they will best inform their listeners. But they did take out, we didn't air the part where he said Central Park 5, Donald Trump said hang him or whatever, which he never said. So if you feel as one way of surviving a fact check is take out the statements that are wrong.
Exactly right.
After you've said it. So I'm not sure how long they've been doing this, but if anyone's out there that feels as though the White House has pressured them to take things out, speak up.
Well, if I had to guess, and I don't know this for a fact, but I wouldn't be surprised if the cost of admission for doing an interview with the president is, we'll let you talk to the president, but you've got to ask him these.
But you know who's curious about this now? CNN.
Everybody.
They are so curious about anything that goes on with the president's intellect. It's as if they've been in hibernation for 3 years.
Right.
Now they suddenly go, wait, the president seems old.
Well, this is cover our tail.
No. It's not covering the tail. What it is that they take a script from the Democratic Party to push Biden. Biden started to drop the ball, and now the Democratic Party is worried about losing House seats in the Senate. Well, now they're getting a new script by the Democratic Party to demonize Biden. They will only demonize if there's higher officials and donors on the Democratic Party side pushing a certain agenda or a certain narrative. So it's not like they're backtracking. They said they were hiding because they were told to hide it. And now it's so obvious, and the powers, the puppet masters of the Democratic Party want to have a change of the regime, right? And they're forcing the media to play ball with them. And to Biden's credit, he's basically saying, no, I'm not moving. That's what was going on. It wasn't that they were oblivious. They were part of the establishment. The media was part of the establishment on the Democratic side, pushing a narrative. And this is the reason why they were demonizing Trump constantly with the same, almost the same script, like they were reading off of it. This is why the Democratic Party needs to fail and fail miserably, and why mainstream media needs to fail miserably. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I also have another type of silver gel, structural nano silver gel. This one's in a dispenser. It's easy to carry in your bag, but you apply it the same way. Put it on your hands, it'll neutralize pathogens, put it around your mouth, your nose, your ears, your eyes, lightly coat your nostrils, and it will neutralize pathogens. Stays active for about 5 hours. It can be also used as a skincare product. After you shave, you can apply it to your skin to help to soothe the skin. If you have an abrasion, a bug bite, a cut, minor burn, put the gel on and it will help to heal it. In addition, you can put it on your skin at night and then exfoliate in the morning, and you'll notice that your skin is clearer and tighter. So please go to the store and get this structural nano silver gel product. I have a lot of different types of C60. C60 is a very strong anti-aging supplement. You take a teaspoon of this a day and it'll soak up the free radicals. That's important because it'll slow down that stress, the oxidative stress in the cell, and it'll also help to boost your mitochondria. When this is all happening, the stress in the cell goes down, and there's a boost of ATP because the mitochondria is healthier. So this is a very strong antioxidant. You take it every day. It'll help to slow down aging, help to build up energy. It's part of an anti-aging protocol. It's also part of the post-2020 protocol. And you take this every day. If you're working out, take it before your workout, and your recovery time is better. I have it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, and an 8 ounce configuration. So take a teaspoon of it a day, and it will help to bring down that reactive oxygen species and get your cells more vibrant, more healthy, have better metabolism. Okay, so please take, this is very important. This is a major component of the anti-aging protocol. In addition, I also have structural nanosilver solution that you take a teaspoon of this a day. This is a 30 ppm. The max 35 is 35 ppms. Max 14 is 14 ppms. This is the ppm of 30. So please go to my store and get the structural nanosilver solution to help with boosting up your health, your immune system, neutralize pathogens. I have lozenges and drops. I have elderberry zinc lozenges in a 21 count. I also have honey and lemon drops in a 100 count, and blueberry drops in a 100 count. So please go to the store. That's really important. Get a couple bags of this. You want, if you have allergies, all right, or you start going into the cold season, you want to have these on stock in your house. So the moment you start to feel a little bit of an irritation, either because of an allergy or the cold season, take the drops, take the lozenges right away, help to soothe that irritation, get those secretions and to help to maintain those that mucosal lining, that barrier. And by doing that and catching it early and doing some other things, but catching it early, you're reducing the chances of making it worse. So please go to the store and get the drops and the lozenges. Stock up. Yeah, help your family out, especially if people have that hypersensitivity type 1 reaction from allergens in the air.
I think the American people are so frustrated. We're going to go to editorial later on in the program where they said that they should have been listening to Fox News.
Yeah, can you believe that? Washington Post said that. I don't think it's just covering the tail though, Mark. I agree with you on some of that, but I think it's because they see that Donald Trump is going to win if he runs against Biden. So now they're saying, we've got to change. Now he's old.
That's right.
We notice it now.
Water came down.
We'll get to that editorial from the WAPO in a moment, but first,
more on purgatory a little bit later.
Yeah, I want to know how do you get out of purgatory.
Right, I'm going to tell you.
It takes a while. I'm going to say.
It takes a while.
Know somebody in heaven. Let me go. Listen,
I'll get you in.
Take the guy out, Brian. Take the guy, turn the light behind him. Well, listen, turn him up.
Mrs. Ducey.
Mrs. Ducey was a CCPG.
Okay.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Tillman.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Okay, so I want to play this one here from CNN.
And design tailored.
The top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, Jim Times, called on President Biden to step aside moments after he finished that news conference earlier tonight. He is now among 15 House Democrats to do so, and Congressman Himes is joining us now, as it was a moment, of course, Congressman, where we were just watching the president speak and give that press conference, and then as soon as he was done, your statement dropped. Obviously, that means you had it ready. Was there not anything that he said that could have changed your mind on calling him to get out of the race?
You know, that's precisely the problem, right? This is not about one.
So he was caught with a pre-written statement, assuming that Biden was going to fail on stage. Give Biden the benefit of the doubt. Yes, he is declining, and yes, I don't believe that he should be running. I want Trump to win this election cycle. All right. But the reality of the situation is the Democratic Party is already trying to push Biden out. And I think it is wonderful that Biden is saying no to now the elitists within the Democratic Party that happened to be supporting him just a few weeks ago. And now they're not supporting him now. But this shows the puppet masters. The puppet masters are controlling the media, and the puppet masters are controlling the money flow into the Democratic Party. And those puppet masters do not want Trump, and they are scared that Biden can't make it. And so now everyone's backtracking. And he's towing the line because the establishment within the Democratic Party will help his career along down the road.
Conference, one debate, one speech. This is about the presidency of the United States. It's about an apocalyptically powerful individual, and whether the trajectory to the election and the outcome of the election and beyond, in the event that Joe Biden were reelected, into a job that requires you to deal with the most hideous stuff on the planet. The president doesn't get to answer any easy questions. I mean, a debate with Donald Trump is a walk in the park compared to what happens at 4 a.m. in the White House. So this has nothing to do with one particular debate. I didn't put out my statement because there's an old tradition that politics and partisanship stops at the water's edge. And I wasn't going to do that with the important NATO things happening. That was the timing.
Well, you heard him get a question from David Sangler about the ability to deal with President Putin, President Xi, and he said, I can deal with them now and I'll be able to deal with them 3 years from now. Do you not agree with that?
Look, it's excruciatingly hard to answer that question, right? Because, a huge part of politics is loyalty and love and emotion. And nobody understands that better or attracts that better than Joe Biden, a storytelling Irishman, who lives in an emotional world. And, those are critical values for politics.
This whole story on CNN smells to high heaven. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and don't smell like CNN. Make sure you get the deodorants that I have on my store. This one is peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. I've partnered up with Rainbow Herbals and use this deodorant every day, but it'll help to slowly detoxify the body. Why? Because of the ingredients. It's all natural ingredients. Doesn't have any aluminum. It doesn't have any baking soda. What it has is essential oils from the Himalayas. They'll help to slowly detoxify your body, and it's a great deodorant for males and for females. Take it every day, get a couple bars of this. This happens to be in peppermint, lavender, and tea tree, and this one is citrus. So please go to the store, get the citrus version or the peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. In addition, we've developed Rainbow Herbals, and I developed the Even Better Bar. All right, what does this bar do? It's a multi-purpose bar. So it can be used for skincare, but it also can be used to help with muscle ache, bug bite itch, help to heal a wound. Like, let's say you have a cut, you put it on the cut and it'll help to heal it. An abrasion or a minor burn. So it'll help to heal. It'll help to reduce the pain on a muscle. So let's say you're working out and you have a muscle ache or whatever, rub it on the muscle. In addition, you can use it as a skincare product. All right, and you use it every day. And again, this is essential oils from the Himalayas, very high quality. All right, and you can rub it on your body and on your face, right? And have that as a daily or a couple days out of the week protocol to soften the skin and to make it smoother. So it's a great product. I use it every day. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Even Better Bar. It's a multi-purpose bar. Get a couple of them for your house, especially if you have kids that are always, getting cuts and abrasions and burns and whatever, or bug bites, and apply it, on those. But it's a very high quality product. Go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
That's why, rallies are so exciting. That's why people tear up when they hear the name Bobby Kennedy or Jack Kennedy or John McCain or whatever. But the problem is that can go way too far. And when there's an excess of love and loyalty, you get 70 million Americans who will not budge from their support for a felon, from a criminal, from an adjudicated rapist who has promised to turn this country into an authoritarian country. That's what happens when you won't set aside loyalty and love and emotion. So the stakes are so hot that
mandates for inoculations came from the Democratic Party. That's authoritative. That's in a government that wants to move towards an authoritative regime. All right. He paid a porn star $130,000. It's hush money. And he booked it as a legal expense. It still needs to go through appeals. He hasn't been sentenced. So actually, my understanding is that until you're sentenced, you actually haven't been fully convicted yet. So he's in a quasi kind of like he's not really convicted yet. So you know, that's an issue, right? And then on top of it, it's obvious that the Democratic Party's lawfare backfired on them. And the Supreme Court on certain issues are saying, hey, you got to kick this back and re-look at this, right? Because there is some sort of presidential privilege that's going on too. So they know that the lawfare didn't work. And now they're going to try to demonize him and say that he's whatever, right? But paying a porn star $130,000 is small potatoes compared to what's going on with the Democratic Party. What about all the corruption that was going on with interfering with the election, with the fake dossier, with the mainstream media and the agencies hiding what was going on the Hunter laptop? That was election interference. So the things that they're blaming Trump on are actually many of the things that they have done. I don't care if Trump paid a porn star $130,000 as a legal expense. I don't really care. I think most America doesn't care. And this whole convicted rapist thing that this guy's talking about, it looks to me as though this was a setup, right? And to try to demonize him, and that this never really happened. I mean, the whole story doesn't make sense. And the over amount that was awarded to her, it's obvious that they have a jury pool, in an environment that was anti-Trump, and I just don't. No one with a half a brain would actually think that that incident truly happened the way it was said by the female, by the plaintiff. All right. Now, I'm not sure if that's going through appeals or not. I don't know. But the thing is that, to me, the lawfare pushed me over the edge to make sure that I support Trump. Because if they do lawfare on Trump, they could do lawfare on you. The Democratic Party needs to fail miserably.
Now the question is, not how loyal are you, but can we avert, forget about, and we can talk more if you like about, the event that Joe Biden were reelected, but can you avert a second Trump presidency? And there is not a single number out there, not one, Cook report telling us that we may lose the House, that says that Joe Biden's going to win. And so the answer to that, which is a fair answer, is that, yeah, there's still time. There's 4 or 5 months to the election. So then you need to ask yourself, what's the trajectory look like here? Are things getting better? If you believe that the problem the Democrats have is that we haven't gotten our message across, the message of the bipartisan infrastructure law, the message of capping out-of-pocket expenses in Medicare at $2,000, and capping insulin costs at $35, and standing up for veterans, and if you believe that our problem is that we haven't gotten that message across well, and if you also believe that the president has the biggest megaphone, you have to drop the emotion and the loyalty and love and say, in the next 4 or 5 months, is that story going to be told with such precision and poetry and beauty that you will turn around all the numbers that say we are going to lose? And I did this painful thing tonight because for me, the answer to that is I just don't see that trajectory. I don't see the numbers.
And you think he'll lose to Donald Trump if Joe Biden goes up against him?
Look, like Yogi Berra said, predictions are hard, especially about the future. All I can do is look at the numbers right now. No president has ever won with a 37% approval rating. Look at the swing states, because this is a race that is decided in 5 or 6 states. The president, you can look at lots of different polls, but the president isn't really up in any of them. And then you can ask yourself, and again, this is future. We don't know the future. What does the trajectory look like? And imagine that 3 months from now, we get another performance like there was in the debate, right before the election. Do you want to take that risk? I don't. Now, I don't presume to understand the president's calculus.
Yeah.
But he's top 10 presidents, right? Why would you gamble that legacy? The legacy of being a top 10 American president, transformative. Lyndon B. Johnson, transformative. And you're going to gamble that on possibly being the guy that handed the country over.
Yeah, you're saying it's too risky. Congressman, you said that you waited to put your statement out until after because it was the NATO summit here in Washington. You believed you wanted to wait until he was done meeting with world leaders, done with all of that. Do you expect that there are other Democrats in the House, more that are going to come out? And if so, how many more do you think there will be?
You know, I don't know the answer to that question. What I can tell you is that I circulate amongst my colleagues. And, you know, I would tell you that there is a very small percentage of my colleagues who are ride or die, who say this is the only way to go. My colleagues and I are worried about two things. One, what is Plan B? That's a totally fair question. I actually think Plan B looks pretty good. I don't know what it looks like, but I think we have a remarkable bench of Democrats. And they're also worried about something very legitimate, which tortured me and continues to torture me, which is we cannot be here anymore. This needs to be resolved, I don't know, in the next 5 to 7 days. Because we just went 10 days where the story was not Donald Trump promising totalitarianism. It was, how is Joe Biden going to do in the big...
Let's demonize Trump. Totalitarianism and a convicted felon and blah, 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 blah. You can almost see that the metaphysics of what the rabbi is saying about how there's kind of like this injected chaos into the Democratic Party that's allowing for the Democratic Party to eat its own tail and to show how disorganized, corrupt the Democratic Party is.
Press conference. Wherever you are on this stuff, this needs to stop soon. And look, if Joe Biden, you know, at the end of the day, he's our candidate, no one will work harder than I will to elect him. But this is the moment, and in the next 96 hours perhaps, is the moment to set aside the poetry, the loyalty and the love, and ask yourself a hard question, which is, are you sure he's going to win? And are you sure that we don't have people who might articulate the incredible backward-looking successes? Now remember that, and I say backward-looking because politics is about the future. The president votes today on his record behind us. Important. But politics is always about the future. Ask yourself that question. Are you sure? Because you're not just gambling your own political reputation. You are gambling the future of the United States of America.
Congressman Jim Hines, I'll just say, you were on CNN pretty...
The future of America, that bet, if the Democratic Party wins, we are speeding the process to the destruction of our constitutional freedoms. If we elect Trump, we're slowing that down. But we're already seeing the fall of the Roman Empire. You know, I'll tell you, I don't know how many Democrats watch the show, but I'll tell you, Democrats in general are a bunch of dipshits. God, I just like, they are destroying this country by the second.
But like, you are here to weigh in on foreign policy issues, intel issues. I've rarely seen you this fired up as you are talking about this issue tonight and your call on the president to step aside. Jim Hines, thank you for joining us to explain your reasoning.
That was CNN. This is PNN. Thank you for listening. Please make sure you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube, Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please go to my store, the-studio-Reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of this video and all my videos. Help support my work by donating through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee on my website. And you can be a paid member to my Patreon channel. Follow my advice, take the supplements, slow down the aging process, proper diet, proper exercise, proper stretching and balancing, training the brain, reading, writing, talking to the real people, stop voting Democrat, and you will age slower. Thank you for listening and have a nice day.